It's hard to believe that we're already at the end of December, but we're very lucky and we have a very special guest, Gian Paolo Bassi. He's been traveling the world doing the last 30 years of SolidWorks celebration, and we were lucky to sneak him in today. So GP, welcome to the episode.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for inviting me. Good day, everybody. I'm very happy to be here because, again, we will talk about the special year that is 2025. As you said, the 30th anniversary of the first release of SolidWorks. And, I've been in the industry like you, probably longer than you, Mike, for sure longer than you. But I am not aware of many companies that, even in our space, that are around for so long. And most importantly, that they've built a foundation so solid for the future. The vision, the past has been amazing, right? And we can talk about the numbers, if you will. But what impresses me is that we are 30 years young and we are a young adult, and what is coming up seems to me even more compelling, exciting, and revolutionary, if you want, than what we did in the last 30 years. So it's very, very, very exciting.
So you hinted at something, GP. I'm going to ask you a question. How long have you been here at SolidWorks?
Okay. I became officially an employee of SolidWorks in 2011. So it's probably 15 years or so. However, I have been associated with Dassault Systèmes since 1999. So I am crossing the quarter of a century of association with the company. And you may or may not know that I was in computer vision when John Erstick first conceived SolidWorks. So I've been following the evolution of this amazing brand for a very long, very, very long time.
You have me beat. I'll give you that. You started your association with SolidWorks a year before I started with SolidWorks, but going back to computer vision, I concede you trump me. So, so with all of that and being part of the organization since 15 years now, where have you seen everything go? Like what are some of the best things that you've seen over that time that you've been around and involved with the ecosystem?
Well, first of all, I've seen SolidWorks winning the bet. The bet was very, very daring when they started back in 1995. The bet was a dream at the time. I have been involved into the CAD/CAM industry since forever. I fell in love with this industry, and the bet was that it was indeed possible to put advanced 3D modeling technology on the fingertips of every mechanical engineer in the world. At a time where design was dominated by drafting tables. I don't know if you were around it at that time, but I am a mechanical engineer by education, and two things directed my future career. One is that I was a very terrible draftsman. I could not do very nice drawings. For some reason, my hand, maybe I've not an artistic slant inclination. So my drawings were always coming short. And I was easily distracted. So I figured out that trying to translate into paper drawings a design was very challenging. I liked the design part. I liked very much, but since the beginning, I understood that 3D was a much stronger medium, and so that was my inability to do nice and precise drawings was one factor. The other one was at the beginning of the computer-aided design industry, and at the same time, I fell in love with what computers could bring to the world of science and technology. And therefore, I've been in this industry since forever. And of course, SolidWorks, I've seen the trajectory of many companies, since the beginning. As I said, I was even part of computer vision. And I've seen how trajectories, reach an apex, and then may, fall down very quickly. And what's the difference is that you really need, when you are in the ascending phase of your aspect, you really need to have a vision for the next phase. You cannot wait for the apex, and you cannot wait for the sign of the inevitable decline of wave of technology to build for yourself, a vision for the future. And SolidWorks has been able to do that. So the bet was, again, to put advanced technology, 3D technology, on the fingertips of every engineer to ride the wave of personal computing, Windows, that made the computing pervasive. So that was an amazing bet. And then the vision that design would be better if complemented by all the other new raising technology, computer-aided technology, like for instance simulation or data management or photorealistic rendering. So this was pretty amazing. So after focusing on the fundamental task of building accurate 3D models for everybody and scalable, which is really amazing, and also fully parametric, with an attention for usability that is still, to this day, is unprecedented in our industry. So the attention that SolidWorks puts in the usability and the importance of that is still unprecedented, and a tip of the hat for the entire team that is able, to imagine what usability means in this century. It's a science that is evolving very rapidly, and the bar is constantly raised because of the expectation of people, of the young guys that come into, the workforce after a youth in the digital age. Okay, so that's one. And then I said the ability to join earlier what now is fashionable is called mod sim. So the importance of simulation to bring life to a digital model. So we went from digital to virtual, and being able to create amazing animations with kinematics, with dynamics. Okay, and the SolidWorks has been always at the forefront of these things. Has been the front runner. So it's not a wonder that today we have 44% of the market share of the CAD units. So 44 out of 100 CAD units out there are SolidWorks. So that is really an astounding market share in any industry for what matters, and in particular in this one, where disruptive technology comes to the fore very rapidly, very quickly, and you really need to anticipate the waves of technology. As I said, we started with parametric 3D modeling, then simulation, then kinematics, everything related to kinematics, the importance of data management, collaboration, the cloud now. Okay, so that is what impressed me the most. So the ability of SolidWorks to absorb and maintain a continuity, because continuity is also very important, Mike. I mean, can you imagine that you can still open a 1995 file? I mean, it's amazing if you think about
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
so
Wow. So I do want to go back. I did start on the board. I did vellum and inking and the ammonia smell and all that. My first CAD was CAD Advance, which was DOS based, and then the first Windows based would have been like AutoCAD 13. So
of
I do
course,
go back, yeah, a little bit. My guy Eric, though, he's been commenting over there, and I do want to remind everyone this is live. So Eric says in 1 month it'll be 30 years since he started with SolidWorks, and he posted a comment. I'm going to try to read it, so I won't trip up, Eric. Don't sue me if I missed the step here, but when I first saw SolidWorks 95, it blew my mind completely. I was strictly a 2D AutoCAD person taking my first flat layering steps into 3D. I knew I was seeing the future and I needed to be involved. So with people like Eric, it's made all of this possible. Eric, you're always on these live streams with us. I appreciate it. GP, I think one of the things that generally has come into play too that has made SolidWorks what it is the passion from the users in the community like Eric and Todd and that whole group of people. Wouldn't you agree?
yeah, absolutely. By the way, Hi, Eric. Very nice for you to joining this blog. Eric is a longtime friend of SolidWorks and of myself personally. Yeah, the community at the end, that's the other part, actually. I should probably have started with the magic of, or the power, I say, the power of the community. That's another thing that I would say is unprecedented in the card, and also I would say in the software industry. I don't know about video games if it stirs so much passion, but definitely, I mean, industrial software is not a place where you expect people to behave like fan at a rock concert, and you see that when you go at World, right, year after year, and the community is our best asset, okay, and it's not only the users, right? We have been able to create a community of very diverse community. The users, of course, are the most important one. Okay, but then we have a community of partners, our resellers, that basically are able to tell the story of the SolidWorks brand as close as possible to the users, right? So this strategy of us having a channel of more than 450 resellers that where we have a very strong connection so that they can tell our story and they can tell back the story of the users. Very, very important. So the ability of SolidWorks to create this community of constant communication has been key to the success, and I don't think it is going away anytime soon from our strategy, because at the end, what creates the passion and the interest? It is the fact that we listen. We really listen. SolidWorks today is what it is. I would say 80% because of our ability and strategy of keeping a very close connection to our users, that very patiently and very with a lot of wisdom were telling us what matters the most to their daily life, because at the end our tools were only there to be transparent. Our dream is to be transparent. We needed to transform the ideas of our users into amazing designs in the most direct and frictionless way. And only the user can tell us what is the magic formula. And the magic formula is very simple. Just listen to each and every one of them. So the team was able to create a feedback loop, a very efficient one. We have a voting mechanism. We have a huge database. And, we have, since the beginning, we have this magic event every year. It's called the top 10. What are the top 10? Are the top 10 requirements of our users. And that is what is directing our future strategy. That is extremely important. But let's never forget that we also need other type of inputs, okay? The business input, of course. What is it that it make it easy for us to do business with our customers? The business part is extremely important. So we need to provide. We understood since the beginning that creating a frictionless experience was extremely important. We were thinking about experience many, many years before it became an official brand with the 3D experience, right? That is now is everywhere. And I think this is extremely important. I have to thank this community. And every time I go around, I feel joy and fun immersing myself in this community, which I did extensively. We had a very terrible period during COVID, and I figured out that the biggest loss was the physical connection with the community. Yes, Zoom apps helps, Restream helps, these things helps, but after some time you develop some sort of fatigue, right? And the physical presence, the in-person presence is irreplaceable. Cannot be replaced, in my opinion. And to the point that after COVID there was a build-up of going back in the field that culminated at the end of August this year. I literally was on the field for 2 months in a row. Of course, my family was not super happy, but they fully understood. And I think the reconnection, the amazing thing is it was easy to reestablish the connection because it is there. It is there. It is a very palpable. and I would say everlasting asset that we have.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. As you know, we held our first manufacturing day here in Nebraska this last summer. Had a really good turnout, and the number one feedback from all of our SolidWorks users was, please do this again. We enjoy having something local that's back that we can go talk and meet with other people. So I couldn't agree more just on my small experience not getting to do the worldwide multiple week thing that you just finished with. But, I think the connection and experience is human, right? And I think us being able to be together as a community is really important. I do have some questions for you because you are a mechanical engineer. You've lived through this life. So what are some of the best things, like feature wise, that you've seen SolidWorks add in the last 30 years? I'm gonna try to stump you just a little bit if I can. I bet I can't.
Well, there are countless, I would say. I think something that I really like is there are a few things. Every year we introduce so many projects that is very difficult to keep track of them. My most impressive thing, and one that was I would say my obsession since the beginning, was the very early introduction of artificial intelligence. People may not have perceived that, because right now AI is everywhere, okay? But it's a phenomenon that exploded in the last 2-3 years. But believe me, we started looking into the wonders of large models, especially deep learning, 10 years ago, okay? And 10 years ago, I remember I started my career in SolidWorks as a person in charge of R&D. And I still have a very much a passion for research and development. I think it's the heart of every successful product. So, and the team is absolutely amazing. This is the best R&D team that I have ever met in my career. And we were brainstorming. We enjoyed a lot to brainstorming session where we were trying, in addition to parse the user's requirements, and we were trying to see what is it to read behind the lines. And I was reading, it was not explicitly expressed, but I felt that the frustration of repetitive tasks. A typical example is to create assemblies. And at the time, I remember, listen, if you put a 5-year-old in front of a computer, this kid immediately understands how to create connections between components of an assembly. You see like a bolt, of course you look for a nut. There is like a sheet metal with many holes. Of course you may need rivets or again bolts in each and every one of those. A hole exists almost always just to put a screw in it, right? In mechanical design, or many other examples. So for me it was very natural to focus on making it frictionless, painless, and much faster the work, the task of creating assemblies, because most of it was not terribly creative. What is the creativity of creating a bolt and nut connection? I mean, come on. And therefore we started looking into it, and the team came up with this amazing idea of exploiting machine learning. They said, well, GP, I think one way to look at it is, of course, people do repetitive tasks, but when there is a repetitive task, you can unleash the magic of machine learning. And I said, wait, tell me, what is that? And then I started learning the magic of AI, the magic of deep learning, the magic of large models. And I started doing it. And things like magnetic mates, the magic of creating automatically mates, started back then, 10 years ago. And I remember when we were demoing those things at World, we didn't even mention AI, because for us it was yet another technology. And then after many years, AI is everywhere, and our team has a huge advantage in this technology. There is a team that is absolutely amazing in Manish organization, and I would like to tell his name is Shrikant Savan. Is truly a scientist, a world-class scientist of artificial intelligence. He and his entire team I'm really impressed of what these guys have brought today, to the point that today we have more than a dozen artificial intelligence capabilities released and available today in SolidWorks, in addition to, of course, the amazing, I would say, the assistant called Aura, right? That can really, you can really start talking to SolidWorks as if it were a human. Well, it's not a human, but humans are part of the system. So I would say that machine learning thing has been the most beautiful thing that the team has created in SolidWorks.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I knew I couldn't stump you. So I knew you're going to be ready for an answer on that. But, the interesting thing about it is when we start talking about deep learning and things like that, as you were talking, you think about when we added the annotation views so you can auto populate drawings, right? That was 15 plus years ago. You start thinking about weldments and multi-bodied. Instead of mating all the pieces together, we just draw some sketches, put some profiles, and have it auto cut for you. And then we auto create the cut list. Those things, if they were new today, everyone would stick an AI label on, and those are things that we've had for decades at this point. So I totally agree with you. And we've been playing with the Aura stuff on the manufacturing side, and it solves lots of problems, right? Being able to create that standardization, that history, no longer having to go to the back of the room and read the book for the standards. You can just put it in and then ask it questions and make sure you make the right decision. So I totally agree with you on that. And, I think if I were looking at things when I was not at SolidWorks, to me, the biggest improvements and the biggest steps over the last 30 years would be sheet metal, and then weldments and multi-bodied. And then I'm going to throw in the last couple of years, nesting. GP, you were part of that. We added nesting now for it, so people can actually design and validate and verify that things are going to be manufacturable. So if I look at big buckets for me and what I used to do in fab and industrial equipment, I would say those big things made the biggest jumps for us to be able to design products faster, better, cheaper.
Yeah, I think actually nesting, I think you told me that we made really a breakthrough in the nesting technology, which is cloud-based, I understand, right?
Yep.
So, and you told me that there was like a 10x improvement in performance compared to our closest competitor. And that was enough for some of our customers to switch and to adopt SolidWorks technology, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's made the world a better place. I'm going to jump into Eric again. He has feature recognition was introduced in 98. He doesn't know if that counts as AI, but it's pretty amazing. Today in this world, people would take that feature recognition from 98 and call that AI. But those types of things definitely have moved the ball forward, right? I get a dumb solid and I just step and I can rebuild those prismatic features. That definitely helps out quite a bit.
Well,
So
yeah.
Go ahead, GP.
Sorry for interrupting you, but this is a very fascinating conversation. As a matter of fact, I would say that, I I began my career, I was in Genova. I worked a few years in Genoa, Italy. And there is a very strong mathematical university of mathematics in Genoa. And there are world-class experts in feature recognition there. And I'm talking about many, many, many years ago, more than I would like to remind myself. But this feature recognition is a classical example of really a breakthrough that new technology can bring to the fore. Feature recognition for the past 30 years has not been based on artificial intelligence. Simply like, machine language interpretation, machine language has not been associated very closely to large language models in the last 30 years. It's a breakthrough of the last 6 years. Okay. And for feature recognition in particular and other capability like defeaturization, we have been using geometric reasoning for a very, very long time. And we always fell short of the ambition. And I think that like a defeaturization, we have been using geometric reasoning for many, 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 many years. Same story also for magnetic mates and so on. But I think the breakthrough of the last few years is that algorithmic approach is powerful, but when the variability of the outcomes is huge, is countless, as it is the geometry of features at the end. We need a different technology. And the machine learning probably is the best one that humans have invented in the last few years. And right now, feature recognition, just like defeaturization, using large models, large industry models, okay? Because this is not a language. The language is the language of industry, not the language of humans. And that is what creates a huge competitive advantage to SolidWorks and Dassault Systèmes, because we know the language of industry. We understand what a feature is, we understand what the manufacturing cycle is, and so on. And I can tell you that we will see a huge boost of the CNC capabilities beyond the feature recognition using machine learning. Today, I've seen our machining technology do a leap forward in productivity and ease of use just because of the introduction of machine learning and beyond the feature recognition. So what's happening is really, really impressive.
Yeah, and I think the key to that, and you hit the nail on the head, is to be able to be AI, you first have to have the virtualized machine and environment that you're going to test against. Feature recognition just looks at a part, faces, bosses, pockets, and then says, okay, we're going to create this based upon CAD geometry, but it doesn't check to see if that's going to work in the machine. So when we start virtualizing the machine and the equipment and the robot cells, we can look at that part and say, is this the best fit to be able to do those things, and then make better decisions for true machining or robot welding processing, because we're testing it against the virtualized kinematics that match the real world. And I think that's the difference when we start talking AI, is we're looking at the whole picture, not just a CAD feature. At least that's what we're trying to solve, right?
Yeah. I know, and I know you love the application of AI in manufacturing, because manufacturing is your passion. It's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I trim my nails, otherwise I'd say I still have dirt under my nails. I tried to keep it clean from in the shop this weekend. But yes, manufacturing and bringing it all together is a little bit of my passion at work and outside of work. I do have a question for you, GP. I'm going to keep going back a little bit in history, because everybody knows you as the SolidWorks guy in the SolidWorks space. When you said you're doing mechanical engineering, did you ever design something cool as a mechanical engineer that you could share or talk about, and you wouldn't have to take everyone, hostage because it's trade secret stuff?
No, okay. Yes, at the very beginning of my career, I was involved with the Institute of Nuclear Physics in Italy that was collaborating with the CERN in Switzerland. CERN is the place where they do advanced experiments of subatomic physics. Okay, basically they split the atom, searching for the rules of the beginning of life. It's very fascinating. I was very much interested in science then. So basically, I helped the engineers of the Institute of Nuclear Physics to build detectors, huge, they called the hadron colliders detectors. So it's called the LHC at the time in Geneva. The experiment was called the LHC, Large Hadron Collider, which means splitting the already splitted particles that comes out of atoms. They have a huge toroidal accelerators, and they hit atoms with other atoms in order to understand and study the particles. And that was very interesting, because at the time they needed the geometrical definition of these detectors in order to run simulation. They had an amazing simulation software built at the CERN in Geneva, but in order to run the simulation, they needed the physical definition, the digital, the virtual twin of the detector. And I was working on a software to do exactly that, to be able to create a very complex, very large geometries for that. It's simple geometries, mostly prismatic, but very, very complex. Basically, detectors are a sandwich of several materials, including plexiglass, glass, and iron, and copper, so they are sandwiched together, and basically they are designed to slow down the path of the particles that come out of a collision. And then there are sensors at each of these layers in order to physically trace the particle path and understand the velocity, understand the physical reality of this particle, because some of these particles have been only theoretically predicted, but never experimentally verified. And the famous one was the Higgs boson. I don't know if you remember, but it was called the God's particle, because it was theoretically defined many years ago, but never experimentally verified. And the Large Hadron Collider was built exactly to find if the Higgs boson actually existed, and they did. Actually, many years after, I was involved in that experiment, because it took like 20 years to build the machine and to run the experiments. But at the beginning of this century, I found articles that are still out there about the fact that the Higgs boson was eventually found, was experimentally demonstrated. And the guys that did that, that were involved into both the theoretical definition and the experiment, I think they won the Nobel Prize. So that was probably one of the things that I remember more fondly, because it was really deep science, and I have a passion for science.
So you've been holding out on us, GP. I've known you for well over a decade now, and this is the first time I'm learning that you did something that cool and amazing, and you impressed Eric Beatty, GP, with that story. So that is amazing. I can't thank you enough for sharing that. We all learned something pretty amazing about the face of SolidWorks. So GP, you win the year.
Okay, I never thought about that. Anyway, look it up. It's an amazing story. It's an amazing story of the ingenuity of scientists that still amazes me.
See, you just went to another level, GP, in the SolidWorks community. They're now going to relate you to that all the time, because Eric's going to tell everyone, aren't you, Eric? We know you will.
Well, I had a very small part in that project, but it was truly amazing. I went to SEM, to Geneva. I was very young then. I was so impressed. I really wanted to be associated with those amazing discoveries, and I kept a deep passion for nuclear physics. In fact, I'm following very closely. I mean, we have many companies, many customers today that are looking to unlock the code of nuclear fusion, and it is happening. I am 100% sure that in a decade we will have nuclear fusion reactors available commercially, and that would be another amazing step forward for humanity. Can you imagine, cheap and safe energy potentially available for everybody? Can you imagine the consequences on the trajectory of humanity? Because if you think about that, many conflicts today are also about a friction in the world, in geopolitics, are also about the ability to reach precious resources or energy related resources, oil, gas, and so on. So if we could really give the humanity the gift of cheap and safe energy, I think, which is there, it is there. We know that it's there. The atom, when you split the atom, it creates a lot of energy that is difficult to control. Now, fusing the atom together again creates a huge amount of energy as well, which is absolutely amazing. So that is very interesting to follow.
Yeah, I mean, that would be super helpful on so many levels, and I think if anyone's going to solve it, it's going to be some of our customers, because there are some amazing customers out there doing wild and crazy things that I could have never even imagined when I started dealing with SolidWorks all those years ago. That does bring me to a question, GP. You've traveled all over the world, probably more than anyone I know. and you visited lots of customers. So what are some of your favorite customers that you visited over the last,
Oh boy,
year?
they are countless. Yes, I want to tell you another before I start talking about customers, because then I will never end. I will never end my conversation. But I want to tell you an anecdote related to my recent spike in travel, related to the 30th anniversary. And it's not only about me. I mean, everybody here is traveling everywhere. You know, Manish, Suchit, all the executives are going everywhere to celebrate and to reconnect with this amazing community that we have. But one of the anecdotes was that all of a sudden, I started reporting of the trip at the beginning, but at some point they blocked my LinkedIn account for unusual activity. So basically, I was posting in the 24 hours time frame from Sweden to South Africa, and they thought it was impossible. Actually, it was me, and it took me 1 week to convince the LinkedIn security expert that there was no breach and everything was legit. Please give me back my account because I want to keep telling my story. I visited. I visited many of them, and I can start from Sweden. Sweden, we went to visit IKEA. IKEA is a SolidWorks customer, very large SolidWorks customer, and it is impressive. IKEA is an iconic brand, and for them, speed, style, speed to market, and e-commerce, and the ability to create amazing, visually appealing catalogs is, of course, the heart of their business. And they have created an automation of all of this around SolidWorks, and they have brought it to perfection our thinking that you need virtual twins to do your business. Well, this is exactly what they do, and for them, a virtual twin is a fully working kitchen or I don't know, bedroom. You know what IKEA they do a lot of stuff, and to be able to create instantly a catalog with all the possible variations that they can do because of the amazing the amazing capability they have to configure their products, and any type of variation, any type of support for local code, for local preferences, they're all over the world. And the technology that is behind that and the organization, the logistic is mesmerizing. And it is awesome that, everything starts with the design done in SolidWorks. And today, IKEA is 100% digital for their catalogs. So their catalogs, they do not do any staging anymore. There is no photographer. Everything is digital and hyper realistic, because if you go on their online catalogs, and it is critical for them because they want to showcase every possible variation of their products, which is almost infinite. And doing it on stage was absolutely impossible, not only for the cost, but also for the practical ability to assemble those things and take pictures. So that was amazing. And also the culture, they still have the headquarters in a little village. It took me 2 hours from Copenhagen to get there. It is in Sweden, but the Copenhagen is the closest one. Then, after that, startups. I went to London. I visited the amazing startups. They created the Greentown Labs, that here in Cambridge. They created a copy in London. It's called Green City, and there I visited a few startups. Speaking of startups, I visited a couple just before starting my tour to Sweden, and I would like to mention them because, okay, I told you, if you ask me to talk about customers, we will never end. Anyway, you stop me when you believe I'm out of time. But Endiatics, right? Is in life science. Is a company that has invented a miniature robotic pill to do endoscopic procedures. Today, as probably some of us know, endoscopy and the colonoscopy is very invasive, very unpleasant, very costly, requires sedation and hospitalization. Now, these guys have invented a robotic pill that you can ingest, and at a distance, a doctor can do an endoscopy for you. and you don't need hospitalization. I mean, this thing is changing lives, and is also making endoscopy pervasive. That is so important for humanity, because that type of disease is actually increasing right now for some reason, especially in the US, and affecting especially a patient at younger age. So this is really the oh, thank you for the comment. I have another other anecdotes of the trip, but let me talk about a couple of startups. So this is Endiatics, very nice. Look them up, because startups change the world, right? The beauty of startups, and I worked in startups myself, is that there is no limit to the fantasies. There is no legacy to take care of. You just start propelled toward the new and the future. Another one is Maglev, and he's here in Boston. You know what they do? They do magnetic levitation in place of rolling bearings for propellers, for vertical takeoff. Yes, flying machines. Flying machines needs propellers, electrical propellers. And one of the problems, I didn't know this, but one of the problems is the friction that at the end, even the most sophisticated rolling bearing has. But, magnetic levitation reduces the friction to almost zero. Therefore, vibration, noise, energy consumption, they all go down by a significant amount. Magnetic levitation. And they were able to do it thanks to the fact that SolidWorks now has a multi-physics portfolio. You can do CFD, you can do stress, strength, because, rapidly spinning. By the way, the propellers can spin at a much higher speed, RPM, because of this magnetic levitation. I mean, can you imagine magnetic levitation for propellers, for urban transportation? And by the way, magnetic levitation has been developed by the nuclear fusion industry, because they need magnetic levitation to do the fusion, because there is no vessel that can contain the pressure and the heat of a nuclear fusion. And magnetic levitation was not energy convenient, was too costly. So the balance energy created with fusion and energy consumed by magnetic levitation was not positive, until they found superconductors and special metals that made the magnetic levitation much cheaper. And this is what these guys are, a type of technology that these guys are using that now. It's absolutely amazing. Let me pause for a second. I go to another anecdote of my trips. I had to use airplanes, of course. I crisscrossed the entire world on airplanes. And at one point, I went from Barcelona, which is on the east coast of Spain, to Portugal. Okay, and I was to land in Bilbao, and I fell asleep on the, on the plane, because sleep deprivation is a constant in these tours. And then I woke up and I basically disembarked, and I went to the parking lot, actually outside the terminal, where a colleague was supposed to pick me up. And then I called him and said, "So where are you?" So, "Oh, I am in the parking lot just outside the terminal." I said, "Okay, I am in the parking lot myself. Tell me exactly where you are." And then we tried on the phone to find each other position. And at some point, I could not find this guy. I said, "Please send me a picture." He sent me a picture of a gigantic truck, yellow truck, very visible. That was very helpful, but I didn't see the truck. So I tried to talk to a person working in the parking lot there, one of the airport personnel. I said, "Excuse me, can you tell me exactly what is this position? I'm trying to find my colleague." He looked at the picture and said, "I'm sorry, but this is not the Santander airport." I said, "Wait a minute, I had a flight from Barcelona to Bilbao. You're telling me I'm in Santander? That is not possible." "But sir, I'm pretty sure this is the Santander airport," which was 100 kilometers south of Bilbao. So, to make a long story short, I found that while I was asleep, they announced that due to weather conditions, they had to divert the flight to Santander instead of Bilbao, which was 100 kilometers south of Bilbao. My friend, my colleague, uh, was not aware, was not notified, did not see the billboard of the arrival that the flight. So we were looking for each other in two parking lots, 100 kilometers away. So anyway, the other fun part was to convince Santander is a very, very small airport. And the taxi driver all know each other. They don't use GPS because they never travel more than 20 kilometers away from Santander. So it was fun to convince one to take me all the way north of Bilbao, where I had to go to an event. Anyway, it all ended up well. I was there almost on time. They reorganized a little bit the agenda, but it was yet another amazing event with a red cake to celebrate the anniversary. It was really truly amazing. Okay, back to the startups, if I may, just another one.
I'm gonna interrupt you, GP, because
Sorry?
I think Eric has an idea.
Okay.
We need to think about this for next year.
Mm.
We need to do a video series, Travels with GP.
As a matter of fact, during the trip, I did a ton of videos. So I may have the gift of ubiquity, because these videos will pop up from all over the place, literally from Sweden to South Africa. I also went to Saudi Arabia, went to Egypt, I went to Turkey, of course, Italy and Germany, Switzerland, Spain, Poland. I went to Lithuania. In Lithuania, basically, I was there for the inauguration of a center of excellence, they call it 3D Experience Center of Excellence, where we have all the SolidWorks technology. The cloud is near very prestigious university near Vilnius, okay? Because Lithuania is very much focused, the government itself. A few years back, I even met the Minister of Science and Education. They are very much dedicated to science and STEM, and they created this center of excellence all over the place. So yes, that was an amazing tour that we call it the anniversary tour, and I have everlasting memories. As a matter of fact, because of my block of the LinkedIn account, I've yet to finish reporting about all those trips, but I will at some point hopefully during the Christmas pause. I will have the time to go back to my LinkedIn account and complete the narration of my tour. An highlight was, for instance, I was in Germany. Many beautiful companies. In Germany, I visited one of their most prized startups right now in Germany. Is called the Neura, Neura. Look it up. They do cognitive robotics, and absolutely amazing. So robots that don't need any programming, some humanoid, some semi-humanoid, very pragmatic, and they also provide cognitive kits. Again, heavy use of artificial intelligence. They provide these kits to every robotic company in the world, so they are very open. They have an open architecture, and yeah, what an adventure! Yeah. Yes, they are really the wonderkind, the poster child in Germany right now, because Germany is looking for for this type of new developments, and this Neura company is amazing. Also because automation in Europe is becoming more and more even more and more important, because, as you know, we are witnessing a reshoring of manufacturing everywhere, Mike, and this is real. This is happening. There are huge investments also in Europe to bring back the ability, the knowledge, and the capability to do manufacturing everywhere in the world, because there is this need to create a more circular economy. So you produce locally what you consume locally. It's not only about sustainability, it's about strategy. And by the way, AI is going to give a huge help, because AI is also about capturing and propagating knowledge, closing the gap between the knowledge. And the knowledge and personal gap in the manufacturing is very palpable these days. I think I was with you in Nebraska when I saw signs on factories over there offering a $2,000 sign-up bonus for forklift drivers. I was tempted to sign up myself. I mean, that's a lot of money, and it's truly amazing. But it is happening. Another company I love is Metalworks, right? You're probably
Yep.
one of your favorite customers. By the way, when during my trip, I showcased the video that you did with Metalworks. Is the perfect exemplification of the concept of virtual twin. You have this robotic arm moving, okay, virtual robotic arm, completely
Yep.
virtualized using SolidWorks technology, and its companion, the real one, doing exactly the same thing. And they said, guys, if you want an explanation of why you need a virtual twin and what a virtual twin is, here it is. No need for words. That video was unbelievable, and I brought it all over the place.
Well,
Another,
we try to push the envelope here in Nebraska, GP. You were out here, you see what we're trying to do. I do want to go back to the Center of Excellence because, as you know, GP, my group, we've traveled the world for the last 18 months trying to train on all these manufacturing tools. And we got the chance to spend a week with the folks from Center of Excellence when we did training in Krakow at the Dassault office there. So they are an amazing group of people. And if there's anyone in that part of the world that can support what they do, they need to, because that facility is amazing. The people running it they're next level intelligent, and they have a plan that I think is going to change that part of the world pretty quickly.
yeah, I was in Krakow myself, by the way. So
Right?
yes, I met your colleagues there, our colleagues there. Fantastic. Poland is an amazing place, and right now they are a very strong manufacturing hub for Europe.
Yeah.
And you can feel that it is very palpable, and they have huge plans for the future, huge investments. It's very good. It's very good to see that.
We got a few minutes left, GP, and Eric keeps asking a question, so I'm going to ask this one. You can choose to answer it or not. It says, "Ask GP about making balsamic vinegar at home."
Of course, I can answer, Eric, and I'm glad.
Oh, we may have lost GP for a sec. Yep. So
We got a little. Sorry, we got a little glitch. I didn't
you're
do
good.
anything. I didn't do anything. I'm sorry. Okay.
You're
Anyway,
back,
probably
GP. Go ahead.
the emotion, the source of emotion that Eric provoked by reminding me of balsamic vinegar. By the way, winter is the season of maintenance, where I have to do all the work for the balsamic vinegar. Yes, I have I have a small place in Italy, because balsamic vinegar can only be manufactured there. Well, I think it can be manufactured everywhere, but it's a combination of ingredients, is a combination of knowledge, of expertise, the grapes, the air, the climate. They say that balsamic vinegar can only be produced in the area where my original hometown is. So yes, I have a total of 12 casks to create balsamic. There are two parallel batteries of six each. One I recently bought is 50 years old, and I have an expert. I have an expert that does all the maintenance, because balsamic vinegar is amazing, but it's very delicate. It can get sick. It is subject to mold, and so the chemical balance of sugar and acid has to be perfect. So I have this expert. Expert is certified that there is a local consortium where I live, where I used to live in my hometown in Modena. Actually, there is a little village where this expertise is a kind of family tradition. Every family has at least one representative in the consortium. It's called Spilamberto. It's a very small village, like 10 kilometers off Modena. And this guy takes care of my balsamic vinegar, goes there periodically, does the chemical analysis. In the old times, they did everything just by taste, but right now, to be precise, and also and also, there are specific parameters of sugar level and acidic level to be classified as a balsamic vinegar. So this guy is really the true expert. I am there just to provide support and finance the operation. But to have casks to tell you the truth, is barely enough for family production. I create about 4-5 liters of balsamic vinegar a year, and this is the end result of many years of the balsamic vinegar forming in this cask. And you can only draw from the last cask after you move from one cask to another, and it has to be fed at the very beginning with the so-called mosto cotto, so which is basically the grape juice that has been boiled and brought to 70% of sugar level. So anyway, it's a very complex product. But last year I was invited to a competition by the local Rotary Club. Rotary Club is another thing that I think is all over the world. But anyway, in Modena there is a local Rotary Club. There are friends of mine there, people that I went to school with, that every year they create a competition for balsamic vinegar, and I classified third among 120 participants. Some of them producers since many years. I have the certificate, third out of 120, and many of them are professional balsamic vinegar producers. So I have a very small place for that, but I'm very proud, very proud.
So I now see the picture after an hour, GP, why you're the perfect fit to be leading what you do here at SolidWorks, because you have that super high-end understanding of physics and fusion and all of those things. And then you have the vision to be able to build something over 30 plus years, to be able to be third in your town for what it is you do. So I've learned a lot about you, GP. I thought I knew who you were. I was 100% not aware of all the talents that you have. So I do want to thank you, because your time is very important and we're at the top of the hour we have. But GP, we have something coming up in February. We need to see all these people at that event, right?
Absolutely. It's going to be yet another edition. There will be very special announcements. Sorry, I cannot give you it, but it will be very special.
And it's not vinegar for everybody. That's not the announcement.
I cannot afford that. I'm very sorry. I could not. I wish I could, but it's not physically possible. And by the way, thank you for what you said. But remember, behind any success story or passion, there must be an amazing team, and this is what we have here, and that's the secret. You have an amazing team. We have an amazing team. Everywhere we look around SolidWorks, there is an amazing team.
So we're going to lead out with the video we have for 3D Experience World. It's going to be in Houston this year, February 1st through the 4th, I believe, if I remember right.
Yes, you're correct.
And we would love to see everyone there, because we're going to be doing some cool stuff. As GP mentioned, there's going to be some really amazing announcements that are going to come out of it. The shop floor, we're going to be doing more of an assembly production line style this year. So assuming we can fit it all in, we're going to have some giveaways where you can come over, build it, go through an entire manufacturing process and take some stuff with you. So with that, we won't have another episode of Make It Better until we get through 3D Experience World. So I can't thank you all enough for joining, liking, subscribing, commenting, all of those things for the last year. And GP, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend with us here on this side of the fence.
Thank you. And thank you everybody for attending. Thank you.
See you, everyone.